So, in some of my videos, I get comments whenever I propose some common sense solution to some socioeconomic political problem. That my solution's never going to happen anyway, so why do I even bother? Well, for the most part, you're right. My solutions aren't going to be implemented, not in this society. Maybe after a collapse and a reset, maybe someone will listen to reason. But as far as this society goes, pretty much stuck on stupid. However, there are exceptions. So the solution I'm about to propose actually can be implemented in this society. And the reason why is that it can be easily couched in a way that appeals to women. It can be couched in a way that the benefits to women can be emphasized, and thus it will be implemented on the basis that it benefits women. So what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about a minor reform in education. Now, education, especially public education, is in dire need of reform. Now, I'm not going to get in the whole vouchers and charter schools thing. That's been covered by other videos. In fact, I'm going to put one in the low bar from John Stossel called Stupid in America back when he worked for ABC if you're interested in this subject. I also recommend the documentary Waiting for Superman. However, I'm not going to talk about that. What I'm going to talk about is actually very simple. I propose two things. One, that we make middle school 4 years and high school 2 years, instead of the current system of middle school being 2 years and high school being 4 years, and make middle school gender segregated. So the first question is, why is this necessary? Well, the main reason this is necessary is that boys and girls develop at different rates. Girls begin puberty around age 11, and they have a developmental advantage over boys between the ages of 11 and 15. Meanwhile, boys begin puberty around 13, and they don't catch up to girls until the age of 16. So what does this mean? This means that when you have co-ed education in middle school and early high school, the girls are going to outshine the boys. The boys are going to feel stupid. They may be discouraged and are more prone to drop out or stop trying when it comes to school. Also, the current paradigm in public school is to pander to girls. The entire educational system is built around girls' standards, how girls learn. So this disadvantages boys even more. So when you combine these together, you see boys dropping out, you see boys getting worse grades, so on and so forth.
And increasingly, a creature such as a boy is odd man out. He's something startling to an instructor from our schools of education, which treat girls as the norm and boys as the derelict exception. As I said, there are differences in the sexes. There are exceptions, and no matter how many times I say this, someone will say, she said all girls are like this and all boys are like that. I did not say that. There are exceptions, but there are also rules. And as a rule, boys have better spatial reasoning skills, and they are more interested in gadgets. If you want to get them to read, you'll have more luck rather than giving them books about novels. Give them books about things or history with male heroes. They might like that too. And girls are better verbally. So Mother Nature was fair in this sense, is that girls have a distinct verbal advantage and boys have an advantage in reading and writing. Now, and there are other areas where boys are, as I said, more risk-taking, more competitive, at least in a physical sense, and they're more likely to be interested in the world of objects rather than the world of people.
So why segregate the sexes? Well, if you segregate the sexes out, boys and girls can be taught at their different rates commensurate with their maturity level and their developmental level. Because girls start puberty before boys, separating them by sex makes perfect sense. The girls can be taught at more of a faster speed. They won't have the boys holding them back, and I think this is the main selling point to our gynocentric society. We sell the idea that girls are being held back by boys because boys haven't started puberty yet. So these quote-unquote mature girls need to have their own classes. They need to be taught at a faster speed, while the boys are kind of held back and taught at a slower speed because they haven't started puberty yet. Their brains are less developed. So you have the girls have their school, their middle school for, and we can keep the names. We can still call it middle school and high school. Middle school will be 4 years. During these 4 years, girls will have their middle school and boys will have their middle school. The girls will be taught at a certain speed commensurate with their maturity, and the boys will be taught at a certain speed commensurate with their maturity. Now, during the age of 16 and 17, the last 2 years of high school, you could bring the boys and girls back together. there's not going to be a problem at that point because now the boys have been allowed to catch up intellectually to the girls. Their brains have had time to grow, they've had time to hit puberty, and now everything's more or less equal. The primary beneficiaries of this would be boys, because right now the system is built to the girls' standards and the boys are being left behind intentionally to advantage girls. However, if we sell this idea that this would benefit girls, because they would no longer be held back by the boys, the education could be focused on how they learn, because boys and girls think differently, boys and girls learn differently. This can actually benefit both genders. The girls could be taught in a way that caters to how they learn, and the boys can be taught in a way that caters to how they learn. I think the best solution would be a completely segregated educational system where boys and girls are taught completely independent, but I think that's a little bit too much to ask. So this is more of like, a baby step, a compromise, if you will. And I think that if this gets sold the right way, feminists will actually go with it. They'll actually demand that girls have their own gender-segregated school because they mature faster. I mean, women are always about promoting what little advantages they have over men all the time. They're always like, oh, we make the babies and we have the vaginas and we start puberty before boys. Oh, we're so much better. I mean, they'll hang on to anything they can to just soothe their wounded ego because of their biological inferiority. We can play to their ego, we can play to their pride, that they're so proud that they start puberty before boys, and how they're being held back by having these boys and girls being taught together, and that girls would be much better off having their own education system between the ages of 11 and 15, separate from the boys, where they could be taught exclusively at their level. Meanwhile, while that's going on, the boys can be taught exclusively to their level, because boys learn by doing, not by memorizing and regurgitating. So the educational system would benefit both sexes, but the primary beneficiary would be boys. But I think this actually has a chance of happening if it's sold the right way. Now, if you know someone, if you work for a senator or a congressman or some political leader that this may be attractive to, for God's sakes, do not link them to this video. Because if they see where this idea came from, they're going to reject it. So, you know what? I don't care. Take the credit yourself. I don't care. But I think this is a good idea. I think this benefits boys, but it could be couched in a way that it communicates a benefit to girls, and thus might actually be implemented within our gynocentric society. So this is how you defeat feminism if this is what you want to do. You can't just overtly declare war on feminism, because feminism has the backing of the government and the society at large. What you have to do is you have to trick women to do things that benefit men by communicating a benefit to women. So this is an example of the latter tactic. We benefit boys, we benefit men, but we do it in a way that communicates a benefit to women. And then it might actually happen. I'm not saying it will happen, but it might. I think it actually has a pretty good chance if it reaches the right ears, but don't point them to this video. Just pass the idea on. Make it sound like you came up with it yourself. I don't care who gets the credit. I think it's a good idea and deserves to be implemented. So tell me what you think in the comment section. If you know anyone, go ahead and pass this idea along. Don't tell them where you got it. Just pass the idea along and see if we can get this going. So I think it's a good idea. Tell me what you think, though. This is Turd Flinging Monkey signing off.